I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, degenerate sleuths of the night. We gather to boldly go where others have refused. Welcome to the DT show, you salty mofos.
A man accused of killing 4 college students is behind bars, and he has ties to northeastern and central Pennsylvania. State police say 28-year-old Bryan Kohberger was arrested this morning in a home in Chestnut Hill Township.
I can't find any case law that would support that idea. That somehow a warrant would be needed for DNA left at a crime scene.
We are expecting to learn more about the allegations against the girlfriend of a Boston police officer who was found unresponsive in the snow Saturday morning. I-Team sources say Karen Reed was in a relationship with John O'Keefe. She's facing charges including motor vehicle homicide and manslaughter.
So, the Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
So, get your popcorn ready and your choice of drink. Get your butt on your seat. Like, comment, and subscribe for a treat. Here we go. It's time for the show. The Drunk Turkey Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Today we're going to do a little something different. It was going to be a members only live, but because the conversation that we'll be having today, I thought it'd be best just to share it with everybody. So what we'll do is a members only chat. So those in the chat are only the only persons that can talk in the chat are the members. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, please consider joining the membership. If not, you should be able to comment after the show, and we love to hear what your comments are, as always. But for now, I want to say thank you to all the members that are here. We appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support. You guys are amazing. Many of you are mods as well. So supporters and helpers of the show. I just want to say thank you guys. And today what we're going to talk about are the flight logs. Yesterday I did a show where we talked about the Amazon series, and I also talked about Michael Kohberger's flight logs. I still haven't gotten the documents that I can share. I have one document I can share, actually, that's from me that I put out there. The stuff that I think his name was Drew, that he put out there, some of it, I have no idea what it's from. And some of it had some personal information from Michael Kohberger. And so I actually went out there because I literally pulled the screenshots from his Facebook post. In fact, let's share the post real quick. So I literally pulled the these images from his Facebook post, and in one of them, I'm not going to zoom in. There's some information of Michael Kohberger's that's personal, and I went back, I edited that out. You won't be able to see that on the show anymore. So if you go back and watch it, it's gone. It's not there. It's been gone for a while. So that part is edited out. That's not what I'm about here. And so, but I wanted to show that, what I have seen and what I haven't seen. And this is from Drew Lewis. He posted this on University of Idaho murders case discussion. And he posted this image. Let's see if I can get it without getting any personal information. So he posted this image right here. That image is this image. That's the one image that was from there. This is the image that I have. So it's very similar. And this is one of the reasons why I also believe that what he was putting out there was accurate information. I don't know how he got it. Don't know what avenue he got it, or if he got it through some sort of legal way. I have no idea. I don't know who Drew is. I've never met him, never talked to him. None of those things. But I wanted to point out that the stuff that I do have is different than what he has. His is just the first part, which is the flight for Michael Kohberger from Philadelphia to Pullman, the original plan. And what I have is the same image here, but I also have what happened the next day. I know that this flight here was canceled, and this was the rest of it. Now, the rest of it I have no knowledge of. I just assume that they're accurate based on the information that are on these pages. And so the rest of the documents that I'm going to share are from Drew Lewis. And there's not really any personal information. I mean, there's a confirmation code, but this flight's already been taken, so there's nothing you can do there. Things are already, crossed out and stuff like that. So I don't think there's any email addresses or anything here. So what we're going to focus on is basically just this part. And that is that he left on December 11th, and he arrived in Spokane on the 12th at 9:34 p.m. Now he is recorded on camera in Loma, Colorado on a license plate reader. I'm interested to know what time that was, because it's over 900 miles away. It's over 900 miles away. And if you were to leave on a, summer afternoon, summer evening like now, it's a 15-hour drive from Spokane. I'm assuming about 14-hour drive from Pullman if he would have gone home to Pullman. Now, that's, again, in a summer afternoon. I wonder what it would be if he was traversing in the wintertime where, snowy roads and things of that nature are in effect, and you're driving a front-wheel drive car through the elements. And so for him to have driven through there 900 plus, it's almost 1,000. I think it was like 990 something miles away. For him to have gone that far, I wonder what time it was. Because obviously, if it's later on in the evening, then that means that Mr. Kohberger and his son Bryan went back to Pullman, Washington. Now, if you go through Howard Bloom's book, it sounds like that's what happened. That they went to Pullman. It sounds like Michael Kohberger and Bryan Kohberger got into some sort of argument about the route that they were going to take. Now, that could have been on the road. But it sounds like it was in the apartment. But that's just the way I took the book as far as how he portrayed that. Now, Howard Bloom's sources on it are friends and what sounds like friends and family members of Michael Kohberger that he spoke to at different parts, different times. I don't know if he spoke to them before the murders, after the murders, or sometime in between. I mean, before the arrest or after the arrest, or sometime in between. When he was talking about his travel with his son, if that was before they arrested him or after, I have no idea. But it sounds like that conversation or that little argument about the direction that they were going to go in was then, but it could have very well been on the phone. I mean, this guy was in the airport. He was supposed to have left at 10:50 p.m. on December 11th, and he ends up leaving at 8:30 p.m. on December 12th. So he spent the entire day there, or I mean, he may have taken a hotel or stayed somewhere else that night. I have no idea. He may have stayed in the airport. I don't know. But why I find this a little bit weird is if the plan was to, not the plan, but if he's seen at Loma, Colorado, and he's seen there, oh gosh, I don't know, mid-afternoon, I think that's probably a little bit telling there that they left directly from Spokane. I don't think that's to be the case because they were in Indiana on the 15th, and that was like early morning. You know what? I might be able to deduce around what time, because it was 10 o'clock in the morning when he got pulled over in Indiana. Now, obviously, they could have driven straight through, but they found hotel cards. I'm gonna have to get back to you on this because I'm gonna have to do some math and do some research on it. But I think I'll be able to deduce when it is that they left, because he got pulled over. I think it was 10:47 local time in Indiana on December 15th. You know, they're in Loma, Colorado on December 13th. You know how far, and they've obviously spent one night. They spent at least one night somewhere in between there, because you know, the 13th to the 15th. So they stopped the 13th somewhere, and then again on the 14th. Huh. That kind of tells me, like, just kind of guesstimating, I think they went back to Pullman. I'm gonna think they went back to Pullman. But I don't know. I gotta do some math there. It's because I feel like if they would have driven directly from Spokane all night and on to the next day, and for majority of that day, I don't think it's taken them 4 days to get across country. I think that's only going to take them 3. And I think that it's only going to take them 3 days to do that. So I strongly suspect they went back to Pullman, and as the way I read it in the book, that they had some sort of disagreement as far as the path that they were going to take. I think that's possible. I think that may have been what happened. But this, in my opinion, I mean, we can go back here. So down here, it says here that it was 40,000 miles. I don't know how accurate that is. That seems like a lot. That seems like a lot for a one-way plane ticket. Now, I know it says here on December 10th. So from one day to the next, you know, that flight probably is going to be a lot. It's probably going to be a lot. I'm assuming. I've never purchased a plane ticket like this where I'm purchasing a plane ticket now and I'm leaving the next day. I actually might be doing that here in the near future, though, guys. I'm in the cars, guys, and I might actually start putting a little bit of content about my car, because that's something that I'm really passionate about. I just got a 1994 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4. It's twin turbo, all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering. It's in mint condition, and it needs some work. It needs its maintenance, and the maintenance on these cars are kind of a nightmare. If anybody knows anything about the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4s, they're crazy. And well, you guys know I'm kind of weak in one arm, and so I found a shop out there in Dallas, and they're going to do some work for me. And so I'm going to drive out there, which is about 4 hours from here. And I think I'm going to end up having to fly back, but I have no idea what day I'm going out there. So I might end up having to do something like this. I have miles, so I'll let you guys know when I purchase my plane ticket from one place to another. Now, again, also, I'm going from San Antonio to Dallas. I'm not going from one end of the country to the next. It's only one flight too. But I'll look at it and I'll plan one for a few days out. I'll see if I can do that here afterwards. Now, I'm also not with Alaskan Airlines. I'm with American Airlines, and so that might be different too. But 40,000 miles seems like a lot. Post a picture of the car. I can do that. I can do that. You guys, I just I have some adjustable springs or coilovers, and I just kind of lowered it a little bit. Not like a lot. It was like stock height, and I probably went down about half, maybe 3/4 of an inch. There's still a little bit more wheel gap than I like, but I'm not a fan of those cars where the wheels start turning in and things like that. That's not what I like. I like performance. And yeah, right now I have the water pump, the pulley, the tensioner, the timing belt. It's all going to get redone. I got downpipe for my turbos, turbo manifold that I have. I'm getting ceramic coated right now. So many things. I don't want to get into it because this isn't what the today's show is about. But I'm going to start talking about those things and putting those things, getting my car on the show. So hopefully you guys like it. But back to this. 40,000 miles for a one-way plane ticket. That seems like a lot, but I think a lot of that probably is because he's traveling cross country. It's two flights. It's from Seattle from Philadelphia to Seattle. And then from Seattle initially was to Pullman, but got canceled due to the weather. And that's another thing. So that tells us that weather was a factor. And the next day he didn't fly into Pullman. He flew into Spokane. So that should say that weather was still a factor the next day, to the point that they couldn't fly into that airport. I hear it's windy. I hear it's snowy. And so I would assume that trip at night during those conditions, you're probably driving a little slow. So it still seems to me, regardless, it kind of seems like Bryan Kohberger wanted that car out of there as fast as possible. There was a bolo that had just gone out on December 7th for a white Elantra. If Bryan Kohberger is Papa Rogers, Papa Roger was out there saying that the white car was a red herring and, don't believe in the white car, a bunch of things like that. Maybe he was spooked. I'm not saying that Bryan Kohberger is Papa Roger. I'm still on the fence there. I'm like 90% sure that he may be him. I'm not convinced 100% that Papa Rogers is BK. I'm not convinced yet. I need a little bit more. But if he was talking about those white cars being a red herring and stuff like that. December 12th, Papa Roger puts out a post saying, "Do you think the killer is still in the area?" And that's the day that him and his father arrives, and they're planning on leaving the very next day on December 13th. If that ends up being the case, that they left on the 13th. Now, Howard Bloom says it was a 4-day trip. I would say the 13th would be the first day, 14th, 15th, and arriving on the 16th. That's 4 days. So I am probably about 80% positive they went back to Pullman after that. After he gets touches down out there in Spokane. But they're getting the car out of there now. December 12th is the first week. It's the first day of finals. So I know that there was some pre-plans about this trip, or maybe not necessarily the trip itself, but the plan was that Bryan Kohberger was going to visit his family in Pennsylvania. Let's see. There's a ticket that's purchased also here. The same day, 12/10. Now I'm told, and I haven't seen this. I haven't seen it at all. So this is 100% speculation on my part right here. But I'm told that this was a return flight, or a flight from Pullman back to Philly. And so if there's something that tells me that Bryan Kohberger's father wasn't 100% sure, or was at least believing whatever his son was telling him, because I don't think his son told him he committed the crime. I don't think that happened. I think they were suspicious of him. I think that if his son did tell him, if Bryan Kohberger told his dad, "Hey, I committed this crime," I don't see this happening. I don't see him getting a return flight. But this tells us, though, that if he's purchasing a flight for January on the 20th, which is after the school year started. So my guess is on December 10th, maybe even the 9th, shortly after the bolo comes out, Bryan Kohberger is probably getting released from his job. I think that was the time that they had a meeting. I know December 19th, there's a termination letter. And in that termination letter, it talks about, basically having had a meeting and informing him of what their decision was going to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan Kohberger had contacted his family in some sort of manipulative attempt to say, "Hey, I want to go home. I want to go home already. They let go of me because of these, kids," or whatever the case may be, right? My thing is, it seems like if they had this plan for a while, right, that he was going to go home, what were the original plans? As I kind of look through here, the only thing that I see that's kind of odd is this one says, "Michael, get ready for Philadelphia." on 12/13. That one's odd to me because he wasn't flying back. This wasn't a round trip. Maybe it was a round trip. No, I don't think so. No idea. I mean, that's the one thing that kind of bothers me is that 12/13 says, Michael, get ready for Philadelphia. But what would have been the initial plan? You know, I don't see anything else here that says canceled flight or anything like that. And if you go to the tickets, see, this is the one for Spokane. You see previous ticket number, you see the new ticket number, right? On this one here, on this flight path, or on the initial one, there is no ticket number or previous ticket number. So meaning that if they had this plan for some time, the plan wasn't, or at least maybe they just gave up on it, which would be kind of telling on its own. But it doesn't seem like he changed his flight. Like when this one had to be changed and you have a new ticket and you have a previous ticket. So it's not like he contacted the airline and said, hey, you know, I was supposed to fly out on the 13th to go pick up my son. You know, I need to fly out there a little bit earlier. Can I change my ticket number and things of that nature? Doesn't seem like that's how it works here. That doesn't seem like that. Now, obviously, he could have had a flight plan for later and had that flight plan for later and then bought this one and just kind of not showed up and gave up on that other ticket. But I don't know. I don't know how the airlines work. I need to find that out, is if they could possibly move up the date. You know, I'm going to have to look that up on Alaskan Airlines. If somebody can ask Chat GPT or Grok, can you move up a flight? And if you use points for Alaskan Airlines, if you use points on Alaskan Airlines, can you move a flight up? And how would that work? I'm going to have to look that up myself. What airport did he fly out of? He flew out of Philadelphia. Flew out of Philadelphia to Seattle, and then he was supposed to fly from Seattle to Pullman, but he ends up having to go to Spokane. And we have, look, sorry, your flight has been canceled. That's December 12th. Here's a confirmation on December 12th. This is for the new flight. That is, as you can see, it's the same confirmation letter. HVQNSD. So this is the new flight. Instead of going to Pullman, he's going to Spokane. But nothing here like, I mean, this one says get ready for Philadelphia, which is weird. Maybe he had an initial flight that was planned a little bit later. Or maybe the plan was to have Bryan Kohberger fly back home, you know, for Christmas break. And then in his manipulation, he convinces his parents that he really doesn't want to fly and that, you know, he's not doing too well because he got fired or whatever the case may be. Maybe talks about relapsing or something, just so that his parents, to create that urgency for his parents to go out there and get him. Now, I've heard theories out there, or rumors, that Bryan Kohberger's sister had contacted the FBI at one point. I don't know when that was. I talked to Howard Bloom. He says that her suspicions weren't until after Bryan Kohberger was in Pennsylvania. I have heard from other people that their suspicions were after the 911 call. I mean, the Bolo on the White Elantra was released, but I can't say for sure. You know, I have no idea of when that may have happened. Now, Howard Bloom talks about an FBI tip, right, that the Goncalves family came close to talking to, and they were stopped by the FBI because the tip came from an anonymous FBI tip. You know, it kind of coincides with the rumors or the speculation that's out there that his sister may have contacted the FBI. I know JLR, Jonathan Lee Richards Investigates, he had posted out on Twitter a couple of times that Melissa Kohberger had contacted the FBI. I think one time he put out there that she had tipped it off when Michael Kohberger was en route to Bryan, or while Michael Kohberger and Bryan were en route to Pennsylvania. I don't know. I don't know where he got that tip from. I don't know where he got that. But that's something that he reported. And so it kind of makes sense. You just got to pay the difference between the original and new flights. That's what I saw. But I would assume that you would have a new ticket for new ticket number, old ticket number, those type of things. So I'm wondering if maybe Bryan Kohberger was going to fly out there. There's a BOLO for his vehicle. So he's like, man, I can't fly out there and leave my car behind. They're looking for my car. So he makes up a story so that way he can get out there. Now, the other thing is, when they found Bryan Kohberger's car, his car was inside the garage. And there was a bucket full of cleaner. We learned that from Bill Thompson. That seems kind of odd. I mean, you know, you have your son and there's some suspicion there, and then you allow him to park in the garage. He's cleaning it up multiple times. Like I said, I've never said that Michael or Marianne Kohberger were responsible for the murders or anything like that. That's not at all what I'm saying. Bryan Kohberger committed those crimes. But when it comes to them, they did help him get that vehicle cross country, did help him hide that vehicle in a garage, and allowed him to clean it multiple times. So, you know, those are what, you know, in my opinion, the facts are. But you guys let me know. Now I'll answer a few of y'all's questions. Put a couple of stars if you guys will for me, please. If you're talking to me, I'm going to go back just a little bit. But show me a couple of stars and I'll know that you guys are talking to me. Thank you to Jersey John, being the newest member. Didi Fuentes gifting a Drunk Turkey Show membership. Another one from Didi. Natalie James comes in with $9.99. I have 2 credit cards that both gave me 40,000 miles after I spent was that $1,000 on my new card within a given time frame. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know who I know it says Michael and all this other stuff, but like, for instance, me and my father have flown to Pittsburgh, and my wife, she let my dad use some of her miles, and so it came out something similar. It was like, you know, you're going to Pittsburgh, blah blah blah, and here's this, that, and a third miles and stuff, but it didn't come out of my dad's account. He didn't have one. It came out of my wife's. So I don't know who purchased it. It could have been his. It could have been somebody else's. It looks like, based on this and what I'm seeing, I mean, they were emailing him. There's 3 pages. This is page 1. And it could be possible that they applied for. Oh yeah, no, that says here's your statement for Michael. So that very bottom one could be his. It definitely sounds like it's his. But you're right. They may have gotten, given that there's 3 pages as the first page, November is in the bottom, November 7th. I don't know if it goes further in the past with those 3 statements. It could. Probably does. Going back to when he flew the first time. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did apply for an Alaskan Airlines card. You know, when Bryan Kohberger just, you know, said he was going to move across country. That way they could fly back and forth if need be. It's a good point. It's probably what it is. Let's see. Good to see everybody. I hope everybody's having a good time. There are over 4,000 people here, but only 49 likes. Come on, let's hit the like button. I didn't know there was 4,000 people, but let's go. I see about 760, but let's get it going. Let's get it going. We've had 4,000 people in the comment section before. Look at the timestamps and the stops. It's widely reported that those stops happen minutes apart. The second video shows a timestamp around 3:50 p.m. Memory serves me correct. That's true, but it is a different time. Like if you go back to the DoorDash driver stops, there's one that says like 9 p.m. Or was it like 21 something? And then the other one said like 3 a.m. What it was is that it was one of them is like one of them was the local time and the other one was like Z time or something like that. It's weird. I wasn't familiar with it as well. When I first saw it, I was like, hey, that's like different parts of the day. And I went back and looked at it and I was looking at the shadows on the ground and the direction that he was traveling and stuff like that. And I was like, no, that's pretty close together. The shadows were, like from the car, you can tell it hadn't positioned much differently. It was still going the same direction. And so, yeah. And then I looked at the time and it's at like Z or something like that. So I do think they were minutes apart. After all his excuses, excessive apartment cleaning, I'm guessing picked up dad and never went back to his Pullman apartment. I mean, that's possible. That's one of the things that I wondered as well. It just kind of depends when he got into Loma, Colorado. If he got into Loma, Colorado about mid-afternoon, around that time, then let's see. He's picking up dad. By the time dad gets off the airport, gets his stuff, I don't know if he's taking a carry-on or not, but if he did have some sort of carry-on with him, you got to wait for your baggage. He's probably walking out of that. Because you also have to deboard. That's usually the time you arrive. So he's probably not walking out of there until about closer to 9:45, almost 10 p.m., out of the airport, getting picked up. So about 15, 16 hours after that, after 10. So it depends on what time that is. So you have 2 hours there until midnight, but 16 hours. So that's 14 after midnight. So yeah, about mid-afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If he's passing by around that time, then he's most likely drove straight from there. If it's a little bit later in the evening, then that 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, because you have to have a significant amount of time there added for sleep, right? Like 6-7 hours maybe, because he's getting home probably about midnight. Dad's been on flights 2 days basically. I think you leave 6 a.m. There's also weather related issues that you have going on, so you probably can't leave too early. It's a good possibility that he left that night. Good possibility. Let's see. Put a couple of stars, guys, so that way I can see it. Do you think Bryan stayed in Pullman between the 7th and the 13th? Seems risky. Ooh, that's a good question. I think he was panicking because this is when he got in a fight with his professor, right? So is it possible that this is around the time where he's kind of panicking and, he had been doing better. He was doing well. Like, I think the PCA has mentioned that, or not the PCA, but the termination letter mentions that they had a performance evaluation or something like that early November. And they had another one shortly after the murders, 20 something. And they're like, hey, it's, not the best. It's not perfect, but you're doing a lot better. You're moving in the right direction. Then all of a sudden, boom, gets into trouble again. Maybe it's because he's panicking that the white car's out. I think that may have been it. I think that may have been what set him off, had him on the edge, so to speak, was the fact that he had this white car there. But I think he was going to school until the 9th. After that, I have no idea. That's a good question. He may have. Maybe that's why that letter from Montana. Remember there was a letter from Bryan from Montana? Huh. Wonder when that was. Maybe that was December 9th. Maybe that was December 10th, somewhere around there. I doubt it. because I'm here arguing with myself. I doubt it because his dad was flying into Pullman, was supposed to fly into Pullman on December 12th or 11th, right around at midnight. So, no, he's probably there the whole time. I would say he was there the whole time. What did he fly out of? What airport? He flew out of the Philadelphia airport. Maybe 2023 was to dad to fly home after driving BK back to Pullman. That's what I think it is. I think that's what it is. And if that's the case, that doesn't scream like at the time on 12/10 that he was 100% positive that his son was the killer. I think he was probably under some sort of manipulation by his son, probably his son's firing, something like that, probably what it was. But then again, I don't know. It's going to depend also on like if his sister did tip the FBI and if she did, when. That's going to be a huge, huge clue, right? I heard she did. I can't verify when. I've heard it from multiple places that it was around the time of the Bolo. I heard it from multiple places that it was around Christmas time. So I can't say one way or the other at this point. She may have tipped before father flew, and that was the urgency to get him in the car home because an arrest was imminent and they wanted him arrested safely. It's possible. I think they had their suspicions. I think some of the Kohberger family members had their suspicions. I think father was in denial. I think this was probably him. Bryan Kohberger saying that he got fired from his job probably was like a relief to Michael Kohberger. And this is just my opinion. I don't know this for a fact. But I think there was moments where things happened and he was like, oh, that's the answer. Bryan Kohberger getting fired. Oh, that's the answer to why he's acting weird. The passing of Brent Kopacka. Oh, this guy passed. This is probably who was involved in the murders. He was talking about it over and over again in the traffic stop. It was not just fresh on his mind. He was thinking about it hard. And I think the reason why he was bringing that up is because he was probably feeling some sort of relief, thinking that, okay, this is the person that committed it. It wasn't my son. So I think I can't say with 100% certainty on anything, right? Because I'm not Michael Kohberger and I've never spoken to him. But I can say that the actions, getting out there as soon as the Bolo happens, that could be a result of Bryan Kohberger being very manipulative. But it also could be a result of some scared parents thinking there's a possibility and they want to get their son out of there back home. But I can't tell you for sure. The only people that know that answer are the Kohbergers. He probably cleaned his car every day in PA. BT said something. Bill Thompson said something about parts were disassembled. No, what he was saying is they disassembled it. The law enforcement disassembled it and went through everything, and everything was cleaned. Now, for the things that they found, that tells you something, though, right? Because they disassembled it, and they found parts of the car that were clean that probably shouldn't have been cleaned, right? Unless the car was disassembled before and cleaned. And if it's still clean, it tells you it was recent, if there's no dust or things of that nature. So, yeah, you're probably right. He probably did disassemble it. You probably can deduce that that'd be the case. According to ChatGPT, Alaskan Airlines does not send that email. Get ready for this. If it's your home city, I think that email was Bryan to fly back. It was also sent 2 to 5 days before the flight. See, that would make more sense, right? Like if Michael Kohberger had miles and he was going to spend them on Bryan, maybe he gets something like that, like, hey, be ready for Philadelphia or whatever the case may be. That makes a lot of sense. And the Bolo comes out. Bryan's like, oh, crap, I can't leave now like this. I need to take my car. And I got to get out of here as fast as possible. Thank you, Jersey John. Appreciate that. Wasn't he officially fired after he left? He was on notice, but not fired when driving with his dad. If true, dad agreed for him to leave before the finals. Had to be a discussion on that. Parents enabled to cover up guilty. That's quite possible. But I think the termination letter did mention that they kind of spoke about this being the outcome, that he was going to lose his TA job. And for that to have been this scenario, it probably tells me that last fight that he got in with John Snyder was probably a significant one, a pretty serious one, for them to go to that. Like, hey, you know what? You've not learned anything. You're the same. We're going to let you go. He didn't even finish the first semester, guys. That should be very telling. That should be very telling about the type of person that he was. He didn't even finish the first semester. But, you know, yes, I think that because he got fired or terminated or known, I think maybe that's the excuse that they can use to say, hey, no, he got fired. He was talking crazy, you know, or we were afraid he was going to relapse. You know, they could say a bunch of different things that we would probably have to take their word for. You know what I mean? Until we find something differently. Let's see. Any thoughts on the letter to his dad they found in his room in PA? Yeah, the letter from Montana. That one's interesting, right? I wonder when he went to Montana. Because it sounds like he only missed one day of school, one day of work, right? Or 1 day of school as a TA, and that was November 14th. Kind of weird, right? The only day he misses until he gets terminated is the day after the murders. Now, before everybody starts jumping down, you know, the rabbit hole and saying, whoa, school's canceled the next day. That was in the University of Idaho. Bryan Kohberger attended WSU, which they did not cancel. I heard, right? After the Bolo, someone saw call list to tip line. Maybe. Let's see. Dad sat in bucket to catch DNA. Where's Dad's DNA 25,000 miles away? Dad sat in bucket to catch DNA. Where's Dad's DNA 25,000 miles? Kind of, are you trying to say that if Dad was in the Pullman apartment, I don't think they got a warrant for his apartment. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there, Nina. They had a warrant for his apartment, but it wasn't until after he was arrested. It wouldn't have failed the semester if he didn't take the finals. He would have had to test. He would have had test himself. That's what I'm thinking too. You know, even if he got fired as a teacher's assistant, and for those that know, answer, please let us know in the comment section. If you get fired as a teacher's assistant, what does that have an effect on your classes? Don't you still have to take your courses? Don't you? Because, and I don't know the answer to this. That's why I'm gonna see. These are the questions I'm gonna try to find the answers to. Is if somebody got fired as a teacher's assistant, at that point, do they no longer also attend classes? Is that like he got expelled from the campus? Like, oh, you're not allowed to be a teacher. You're not allowed to be a student. And I don't think you attend the classes you're a TA in. I don't think that's how it works. I could be wrong. I've never been to a university. I've only gone to a community college, and so I don't know if the TA is like the teacher's assistant and the student in the same classroom. I don't think that's the case because he's grading papers and stuff. I would assume that he had his own classes where he wasn't a TA, right? Hey, Dr. Vona, perfect timing. Hopefully you can answer that question. If you're a TA, you have your own classes. If you got in trouble as a TA, wouldn't you still have to take your finals as well? Like that still would have to be done, right? And we already looked through WSU's documents. Not documents, but their standards of procedures when it comes to their finals and stuff. And nobody could take the finals early. They weren't allowing people to do that. You had to take them then and you couldn't leave early. So interesting. Oh, there you go. So this is the answer. In a doctorate program, we don't take finals. We do research papers. So would the research papers be turned in early? Could they be turned in early? I'm assuming they probably could. Wasn't his tuition gone once he lost his job? I think that was going to be a part of it. The classes he was a TA would be for classes he's already taken. He would be a different classes, in my opinion, from my experience. Sounds about right. Wasn't his tuition gone once? I think that's true. The research gets turned in online. Oh, there you go. There you go. So, but he would have had to have helped out with these classes, right? He was a TA. So his dad would have, like, there was no way of anticipating him being there on December 11th. No, that's not a possibility, because he would have had to have been assisting with the exams, the proctoring the exams, etc. I earned my MED from U of I. I didn't have any tests, just a lot of writing. So if he turned in his work, he'd be good to go. There you go. There it is. There it is. Thank you, Samantha. Appreciate that. So, yes, he could have left early because of the turning in the documents, but he would have. And this is what I'm trying to say is, like, how would his father have anticipated it? Like, that they would have had to have gone then. So I think that there would have been, if there was some plans being made, and Howard Bloom mentions that those plans for Bryan Kohberger to go home didn't start talking or wasn't brought up until Thanksgiving. That's what he was telling me. So if Thanksgiving is the time when they started saying, or Bryan started saying, hey, I want to come home, for the holidays, that was after the murders. Let's see. It's online, so it wouldn't matter. Wouldn't take effect to the next semester. There you go. Yes, the TA, he should have been there. There you go. Can't help still feel irked about the plea deal. Feel like he was caught it. I agree. I was watching a former judge. I think she was the judge in the Parkland shooting. She kind of put Bill Thompson on blast and was saying, like, hey, if your beliefs were that you can't prosecute, or you don't want to be, you don't believe in the death penalty, then you shouldn't be signing up to be in, prosecuting death penalty cases. And I couldn't agree more. When I joined the military, I joined right after 9/11 happened. I knew there was a possibility that I was going to go to war, and I knew there was a possibility that I was going to have to defend myself and my country. And, if I felt like I couldn't do that, I wouldn't be able to go out there, because that's going to put other people in danger and things of that nature. But to me is, if you should be aware of what you're signing up for. You should be aware of what you're doing. And if you don't have, like the judge, she was mentioning in her show, that if you don't believe in it, like she had a colleague, or she knew somebody who didn't believe in the death penalty, he didn't prosecute death penalty cases because he had to do what was right for the victims. And I couldn't agree more with her. And so, I agree with this statement as well. If online research would have had to be on campus for school, or could he have stayed in PA? Ooh, I don't know. Let's see. The U of I owns the town, and they didn't want this trial, in my opinion. I agree. I can say that that's probably true. They didn't want that. I think that they wanted to put this behind them. They knocked down the house. They made it difficult, right, for the trial to stay there. They made it. They said that, hey, it's going to interfere with schooling. It's going to interfere with all these other things. And so they were basically going along with making it so that there was an easy avenue for the change of venue to happen. That, because at the end of the day, Bryan Kohberger had a right to go to trial, and if I was Bryan Kohberger's attorney, I would push for the trial to start during school when these guys said that they don't want it to. The reason being is because they say, hey, he has a right to have this trial, speedy time, et cetera, et cetera. And then they could have leveraged that to basically get the trial moved out. They didn't have to, but I felt that was an avenue that they could have gone, and I felt that the prosecution was leaving that door open, and that it would eventually end up being changed because of that. I felt that the tactic was there, where the door was open for the tactic for Ann Taylor to take advantage, and it ended up not having to come down to that. Judge didn't want to do it anymore, so he let it go on, and I think he retired shortly after. Thank you, Ulala, for being a member for 21 months. But alrighty, guys. Well, that's going to do it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please hit the like button, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. You guys know what to do. I'll be back probably on Tuesday. Tomorrow night, I'll be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers on a network called Steel Curtain Network, on a show called The Steelers Hangover with my friend Shannon White. You don't want to miss it. If you're a Steelers fan or like football in general, go find Steel Curtain Network. It's part of FFSN. That's how I got into podcasting, guys. I actually started talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got picked up by Super Bowl Nation, SB Nation, and Behind the Steel Curtain. And then we went on to Steel Curtain Network through FFSN. So that's the other thing that I talk about. So if you guys want to listen to my takes on the Pittsburgh Steelers, go check that out. But without further ado, guys, you guys have a great night. I'll see you guys next time. Until next time, peace.
But it's too late now. I remember you and me, and how careless we could be.
All day and all night, we'd stay up, it felt so right. We were so young, we were so dumb. We would get drunk and then hook up. We were okay, we were alright, staying awake till the sunrise. We were in love, couldn't stop us, like a good drug, never enough.
We hook up in my car, driving so far, play your guitar, you show me your art, let down our guards, think with our hearts, stare at the stars. We were never apart, drinking too young, way too much fun, out in the sun, hoping when it's gone. Took you to prom, dance to our song, dance all night long till the lights come on.
Now I remember everything, and how careless we could be, and how careless we could be.